speakers fell.
Oh no!
Things were broken. It was insanity.
Buddy Holly is punk rock as hell.
Oh yes,
you know
he
what
is.
I mean?
Look at how much money you have blown.
That,
Right.
You get a little bit more of that natural.
Oh,
push
it's natural.
pull.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
You know,
exactly.
man, it's way too fast right now, but let's go.
Welcome to the Local Backstage. I'm your host, Jay Temez, and today we're going to be talking about the Milwaukee metal scene. I have with me in studio Andy Martin, the drummer from Conniption. Andy, welcome.
Thank you.
I also have Steve Madsen, the host of the Sonic Seedpod. Steve, welcome.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Great. I am so excited to have you guys here today talking about my favorite subject. First of all, local music, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, of course, metal.
Gotta love the metal, man.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep, and of course talking about Milwaukee metal scene. So let's just start with, talk about Conniption. Okay, you guys have been around for a while. You guys are metal, correct? That's what you would classify your genre, right?
It could get subgenred out, but
Of course.
metal.
Exactly.
Right.
What would be your first subgenre that you would call it?
Maybe use a couple examples.
Thrash,
Okay.
but we have singing vocals, so it's not like thrash bands don't think we're thrash enough,
Right.
but rock bands were way too thrash for them.
Gotcha.
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Because I heard some of the material, and it is unique. I mean, you're right. You almost can't put you in a category that really defines
Metal, it's
right.
close enough.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then nothing else. It's Conniption.
That's right.
Right on.
A fit of violent emotion. You
Yeah.
know?
Okay.
There
Now
it
let's
is.
talk about that. What did you guys come up with names, or did you have a name that was an old name that you changed?
We had a different name. It was the name of a different band that was at the time not active, and we did a couple shows under that band name, and then we decided with some urging from some promoters because of the other band,
a
and
conflict.
venue owners and stuff of, hey,
It was
you don't want to
confusing.
have people thinking you're these guys.
Right.
Come up with your own thing, you know.
Exactly.
So, so we came up with Conniption.
And now, who came up with it? I mean, what was the idea there?
It was a lot of like synonym and searches on Google, basically.
Right.
Thesaurus.com.
Yeah, let's go into some different sites and look at
Sure.
type in this word and then what else comes up. And,
Yeah.
I had success
probably like an hour
finding-
and a half later.
I had
we
success
came
finding
across
band
Conniption.
names looking at the appendixes of sound catalogs, like Sound
Okay.
Gear catalogs, Switchcraft and Reason Soft. And
Yeah.
I've always thought those have been great
Yeah.
names.
Yeah.
Nobody ever bid on them, but I thought it'd be great.
You have to start a few bands.
Yeah, I was thinking about
Well,
it.
and it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to come up with a name for a band. I mean, I remember going through and thinking it's everything sounds dumb, when you're thinking it up, and then you think, hey, I finally got one that I love, and then everyone else like, dude, that's stupid, man.
Or you come up with one like, oh, this is a cool one, and you look it up, and there's already like 3 bands
Exactly.
that have that name.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, the singer of the Resonant Complex hates the band name, but I convinced him because the music ultimately makes the name. Regardless of how stupid the name is, it's ultimately the music that's going to define it.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And if you can find a name that kind of says what your music sounds like, that's
That's even
it
better.
helps,
Yeah.
doesn't
You start
it?
inducing a vibe before you even show up. That's really cool. I like that.
No, that's true.
Because
And-
I think Conniption, I think thrash, I think
heavy.
metal,
I think
right.
heavy.
I'm ready
Yeah.
to go to a show and probably get the crap kicked out of me.
Right. Yeah, and that's
or
kinda-
kick the crap out of someone else.
Exactly.
I'm pretty mellow, so
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I think that's awesome. And it's stuff people don't really think about, like what goes into just being in a band, right? And all these elements to it that, I guess when you stop and think, we take it for granted.
Right.
It's like, you
Right.
kind of get up there, you grab your instrument, you start jamming in a room, and everybody thinks, most bands start in the basement, in the garage, So I love when you talk about, what the perspectives might be from the outside, the audience perspective, the consumers of music.
Yeah.
And I bet a lot of them, and at one time we were consumers.
Right.
And so
Right.
even our perspectives, we're thinking we know what this is about because we watch, this guy or this band or, but I think, didn't that change when you suddenly got on stage and got in that environment, and it's like, oh, this is a little bit different than I thought.
Right.
Yeah, you see it from a little different perspective.
Right. Isn't it weird how, like, when you pull the curtain back, all of a sudden you start analyzing the aspects of what it takes to put a band together, put a band on stage. And it's like, there's a lot more work than what they show you on, media.
And that doesn't even get into like marketing your band and you're trying to get your music out there. It's like, I play drums. What do I know about
Same boat. Marketing has always been my biggest downfall. Yep.
And that's probably why you have a lot of artists, and it's an age-old topic here, that there's a lot of mainstream music that sucks. There's a lot of artists that, and at first I didn't really, when I was younger, I didn't really understand until I started working at a label, and I started hearing and realizing that we got talent right here in our backyard, like platinum, world-class talent that's writing good stuff. But why aren't they on the radio, or why aren't they going platinum? And then you hear the stuff that is platinum, and it might be similar, it might be okay, but you're like, the stuff we got right here is just as good. What is the big difference here? And that's what's always, really floored me. And it has to do with the marketing.
Yeah.
You could be a mediocre artist with just great marketing, and you can succeed in this industry. And I've witnessed it. We've all witnessed it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that Gangnam Style, that's a great thing where you just take a very simple, a likable thing and put it out to the world, and everybody just gravitates towards it.
Yes.
And that guy was a genius for marketing it the way he did, because he's still, what is it? I just saw a video 11 years later. He's still selling out arenas. And putting on these major productions.
Conniption's actually covering that song on our
Get
next
out of
album.
here.
Dude, I would have been first in line for that one.
Dude, I was like, dude, I want to hear it.
Right?
We do have an album we're finishing up, but there's no covers on it.
Right. Okay. So, that's okay. So now let's talk about that. You guys, how many albums you guys have?
We've got 3 albums. We also have like a full-length demo that we don't count as an album.
Okay.
But I think there's 12 songs on that. That was the first one we put out. It's been a few years, so we're definitely due. Went through some lineup change with our bass player a couple times since the last album. But yeah, Bill goes in to record just a few guitar tracks, like a little add-on thing here or there. I think on Monday of this week, probably after or before this airs.
Okay.
Like on the 12th, I think, of May.
Where are you guys recording?
At Cherry Pit Studios.
Okay, give a shout out. Awesome.
Yeah. Who's your producer? LaBrosse.
Eric,
right
awesome.
Yep. I did Resonant Complex did a record with Ryan Coots. At Cherry Pit.
Yeah, we've worked with Ryan. He's
killer. They're great over there.
In different albums and things. He's filled in for engineering and stuff. So, he's done a great job.
That's awesome.
Those guys, everybody out there is awesome. I love them all.
Yep. Yeah, we've done all our albums so far with them.
That's awesome. So talking about that now, that's another part where people don't realize, you're talking about what it takes to actually be a band, and, you have to have a product, right?
Right.
And so...
CDs.
Yeah. I know.
That used to be the big thing. That's the first thing you got was a CD, then you worked on T-shirts and all that. Now it's like...
What do you do?
Right.
I mean... Those CDs are worthless. No one can even play them.
Right. I don't have a CD player in my car.
No.
I have an old car, so
I have a 2015, and it doesn't. That's not that new.
Right. So then you got to go direct to streaming now, right? Or do vinyl. That's really the only options.
Yeah, that's where a lot of people are going.
Yep.
I know my buddy Andrew Weber. He went vinyl and streaming.
Yep.
I think he had a few CDs, but more vinyl was the big pre-order thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's tough too. That's a whole different topic, man.
I played drums on one of his songs.
Which one?
Edit. I don't know. I forget the name. It was the Howl.
Oh my God, I love that album.
Yes,
that is the album that I started listening. Well, we're
trying to
talking
think
about
what the name of the song is, but
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I should know, but that was a lot of years ago.
He's gonna watch this. He's screaming the name.
Yep, he is. Yep.
Sorry, Andrew.
I'm gonna go look at my liner notes as soon as I get home.
If I saw the names on the album, I could tell you which one.
Out of multiple choice.
And I have the CD too.
Yeah, someone's gonna text them.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. See, just us talking a little bit. There's this network that is present, right? And so talk about 6 degrees of separation. Anytime you're in a local music scene, it's like a 2-degree separation.
And that's kind of a cool thing about our area. You talk about in LA, the spotlight is huge and there's so much of it out here.
The competition is
when
crazy.
you're up here and you're in a band, there's not so even though we're all trying to vying for a spot and we're all trying to get, where we're going, we're all I've always noticed that we're all helping each other.
Oh, yeah.
You go to a show that you're playing and you got another band there and you're always like, hey, how you doing? And then I personally have always made it a point to make my setup and tear down time as quick as possible to give these guys, a chance to set up and tear down and get their things set up so that they have a good show, just like we had a good show.
Right. And then you always get the guys that, I should say, you also get the guys that will break their cymbals down on stage.
Right.
Pull their cymbals off
Yeah.
the stands and take the tom off and then walk that off stage.
Yep.
And,
The lollygaggers.
Yep.
Wrap up all your cables before you, put them in your guitar
off.
case before you can go off stage.
Right.
Yeah. And
We got 5 bands tonight. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Let's come back to metal. See, now this is what really starts to differentiate the type of artist. Now, when you're in a metal band, a lot of these artists don't know what it's like to be on a 5-band show.
Right.
Like you're gonna have 5 bands in 3 hours,
Right.
And we've done that. That's the industry, right?
Right.
So
we got 15-minute changeovers, and we're changing over drum sets and everything.
exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And the drum sets are big.
Right.
That's
got
why
10
I play
minutes,
4-piece.
go.
It
Right?
just makes it easier.
Nice. Yeah, I
Kill
see
it.
a big change. Tell us about that. I'm just noticing. I haven't paid a lot of attention, but you talk about older era setup, right? And you had the 6 toms, and you had the double bass.
Right.
You didn't have the double
Drum
pedal.
kit from
You
here to
brought in
Gibraltar.
2
kick drums.
right?
Yep.
Right.
So what happened? What's going on? Is that it? Is it just
I think a lot of drummers still want to use all of that.
okay?
It has its place for sure. For me personally, it's just whether it be playing at open mics or doing a show where you got to share a drum set. Your muscle memory. If I have 2 rack toms versus 1,
Right.
and if I'm used to 2 and then I show up and I got to play on 1, now I'm thinking, and that's the worst thing you can do while you're playing.
Right.
So over the years, I've just kind of found a setup that is a kind of happy medium to where if I get on a different kit, I can still play it somewhat comfortably.
Yeah. And so now tell me your setup. You got a floor tom. You got a snare.
I got a snare, rack tom, floor tom. Kick with a double pedal, hi-hat, 2 crash, ride, China.
That is
Sometimes a splash. It's
that's actually the kind of kit
simple.
that I want to get. I also have a tom floor, and I just have 1 crash, but because I can't afford another one yet.
Well, and that's.
But I'm not a drummer.
And now for
It's been
logistics.
20 years of building.
Right.
Yeah. And you talk about logistics. It's easier to fit in the car now, right?
Yep.
Setup time is faster.
The sound guy likes it more
Sure.
when you have half the drums.
Right. Yeah.
Right. I
Yeah.
just saw a video of a sound guy approaching a drummer, and he's like, "So, all right, how many drums we got? Yeah, I got a 9-piece. Why?
Right.
Well, we were talking about those multiple band bills, and you got so much time for changeover.
Exactly.
When Conniption was starting out earlier on, we did a lot of shows like that at the rave.
Oh, sure.
And it was always like I'd kind of be either standing back or just setting my stuff up, and I'd always hear other drummers or other bands it'd be like, where's the rest of his kit? Look at that little kit, and kind of knocking it,
Right.
and then after our set they'd be like, oh wow, you really tore up that little kit.
Oh
It's
yeah.
I never said it to anybody, but some of them it's like, well, you only played half of yours.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
If you're gonna have all that, play it. And that's great.
Yeah.
Because it does look cool on stage.
Yeah.
It does,
But
right.
I wouldn't want to have something on stage that I'm not gonna use.
Exactly.
Right.
And used properly, those big kits can, like Danny Carey a tool. He uses every piece of that thing.
Absolutely.
But,
He doesn't set it up.
On the same token, the guy from Kill Switch Engage has a small kit, but the size of the drum sound doesn't come from the size of the kit. it's the player.
Yeah.
It's all the player.
Yeah.
Well, and in the studio versus live, in the studio, I might add another floor tom.
Sure. That's the point of
I've
the
done
studio.
it with 2
Right.
rack toms before, but just because how I normally set it up,
Right.
I'm a little bit more comfortable with 1 rack
Right.
tom.
Right.
So I'll usually add it on the floor. But yeah, some of the albums that we've done, I've recorded with 4 toms.
Yeah.
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 Just to get more
That added.
Yeah. Some
tone out
depth.
of
And that's the
it.
point of the studio, is to take it as
You
far
can
as
do
you
it, yeah, whatever
possibly
you
can.
want in the studio.
Yeah, do whatever
Right,
you want in
yeah.
the studio. Figure out how to play it live later.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. How long have you been doing that setup?
The setup, the 4-piece that I currently have,
have?
at least the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of like a Ringo style, just basic setup,
Yeah.
and it works for me.
I'm seeing
A lot of
I'm
drummers.
talking on YouTube.
Yeah.
This is recent though that this changed. And here I'm hearing that you've been doing this for a while, and it's so crazy. Like you talk about perspectives and filling expectation, right? And so you have the other drummers during that era 10 years ago, and they're like, "Man, that doesn't look right. Like, what are you doing?"
Right.
And now it's like the mainstream. It's becoming more of the mainstream. It seems.
Yeah.
Because I'm seeing some pretty big metal drummers that are running with that same rig, but I'm talking an evolution
Right.
that is recent. They literally went from the full kit and switched it up to a smaller, like they got the floor tom and 1 little tom.
Yeah.
And so that's, man, maybe we're influencing people and we don't even know it.
Could be.
Copycats.
We need to trademark this thing, man.
Right on, yeah. Well, and that's what I'm really interested in, is trying to figure out, does Milwaukee have a signature tone to any one of their genres, and is it one of those things where we're just not recognized for it? We're not recognized. We're not the hub. We're not the scene that
Well, you got to start off by pouring beer on your amp. That's where the tone starts.
right.
But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, you can almost tell when there's a band out of the Midwest, as opposed, it came from the Midwest, regardless of if they recorded in L.A. or whatever. There's almost like a Midwest grit or like rawness or something that just emanates from it.
Well, there we go. Now, have we had any platinum famous metal bands that came out of Milwaukee
Milwaukee?
or out of Wisconsin? Can you think of any?
The biggest one, 2 bands that come to mind in metal that have had national success, I would say Realm,
Okay.
from back in the early 90s.
Sure.
And then Lazarus AD.
What were they called?
Lazarus AD.
That sounds familiar.
They're out of Kenosha.
Okay.
They were signed with, I don't know if it was Roadrunner
Okay.
or a major label,
Yeah.
and they did some extensive touring.
Remember Buzzhorn?
Those guys were great.
Yes, I
You remember
them.
Buzzhorn? Mm-mm. Okay, you remember
think
Buzzhorn.
it
I
was
remember
before
seeing.
me.
I think they were open to a couple of rave shows that I went to.
Yeah. I think they did get signed, and I don't remember the label, but it didn't go anywhere. And but I think they had potential. There's a lot of bands from
Yeah.
this area that totally had potential.
When I was just getting out of high school, there was a band out of Menominee Falls called Big Dumb Dick, and they.
Oh, I remember, yeah.
and they were good.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they got signed
Yep.
and
Didn't go anywhere.
Disappeared. Another band out of Iowa named Index Case, they got signed to No Name Records, and just as they were, and I could be wrong about this story, so sorry, Joe, if I'm wrong, but just as they were about to like basically get in and start taking over the world, the record label shut down.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
a
that was
series
that.
of unfortunate
Yeah.
events that is out of your control. Yeah. What about, this is crazy because these names are coming back to me as we're talking. White Knuckle Trip.
Oh yeah, I am very
Yeah.
good friends with Chase, the DJ of White Knuckle Trip.
I know a couple of those guys.
Yeah.
They were great.
Yeah.
Nate Forsey.
Right,
Yep.
right. So, anyways, I think it's interesting when you talk about, I hope that we can find our signature sound, whatever that is. And, I don't know.
We can't forget De Croizen. Everybody has to
De Croizen.
big homage to De Croizen.
There we go. And I think they're going to be on one of the Sonic Seedpod episodes, aren't they?
Well, I don't know. We'd have to talk to Dan about that. We'll see.
We'll see. That'd be awesome.
Let's reach out to him.
Right on.
Make it happen, Jim.
Yeah. All right.
It's on you.
Right. Yeah. What did I do? So, okay, cool. So we got what's exciting. Metal Fest is coming up, right?
Yeah.
What, in 3 weeks, I think. It's coming up.
2
It's-
weeks.
Yeah. And I was talking to the founder, Jack Koshick, and we went out to Rushmore Records, and we did an interview with him, and it was great. We met Dan down there at Rushmore, and it was such a great experience hearing, how the whole thing started, from the beginning and the ideas behind it. Matter of fact, hey guys, can we go to that clip and with Jack at Rushmore Records?
And metal was just...
Hey, you're wearing the same shirt.
I was promoting heavy metal shows, Milwaukee, Madison, and Racine.
Okay.
And
same shorts.
metal was just breaking, just coming out, First metal show I did was a band called Talus. Now that was Billy Sheehan's band.
Billy Sheehan. Now,
and his agent was the same agent I had while I was managing Badfinger.
What name did he say? Did you catch that? Okay.
And that was John Dittmar.
John Dittmar.
And Dittmar said, Jack, mark my word, the money's in metal. I did.
Now, that's the first I've ever heard anybody say
show in
that.
Milwaukee.
Nice. Okay.
He's the only guy I've ever
Sabotage
heard
for show in
somebody say that.
Milwaukee.
Right.
Yeah, all these metal bands.
Yeah.
I became the metal guy. And then one day in 1984, I was doing Slayer and Overkill at the Eagles Ballroom.
Okay.
Ooh, legendary venue.
And my friend Rob Ertl, whose dad John Ertl was a friend of mine.
Sure.
John had a company here in Milwaukee called Contemporary Talent. Rob made the comment, Jack, wouldn't it be great to get all of our favorite bands on one show? 3 years later, I put on the very first Milwaukee Metal Fest.
Wow.
The money's in metal. I wanted to join this metal band, and they needed a guitarist. I'm like, oh, hey, dude, I'll play, with you guys. And they're like, well, you're a singer, songwriter, pop kind of guy. I don't think it's going to work out so good, And I'm like, mother. You don't even know me. Right. Dude, I was so upset about it. I mean, I literally lost sleep for, a long time. I'm talking weeks. I was really upset. And I'm thinking, I really need to change my. I felt like I was being typecast.
Right.
You know how you have those actors,
right.
and they're like, "Hey, dude, we saw you in a funny movie, so we only want you in funny movies from now." But they're like, "No, I'm a relevant actor. I can act and do drama and all that." That's how I felt. I was really upset. So that's when I got my shot to play with Headwork, which was one of my favorite bands of all time, man. Nice. I knew them, I used to run sound for them, and I would tell people, this is my favorite band, man. It's my number one, and I'm not talking local, I'm talking worldwide.
Yeah. Right.
Them and Human Nature. Now then they changed their name to Nate, but anyway, so when Steve called up and he's like, hey man, we need a guitarist, an extra guitarist, and I'm like, dude, I'm in, yeah. And he knew me from my metal days.
Right.
And that's why he bothered to ask. But that was my chance to show the world that I can play metal. And I played metal first.
Right on.
Yeah.
Now, did you sport the hair too?
No, I had short hair, but it was crazy because when I joined the band, then Steve was like, oh man, this is great. We finally are going to have sex appeal. I didn't know what he meant by that.
But you found out, didn't you?
I did, man. I did. It was great. I played the role and it was awesome. So beautiful. I changed that whole stereotype that I created for myself. Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And cool. I wanted to be known as a dynamic artist that could do anything. Anything. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Versatile.
Right. But the funny part is that, I guess I don't really advertise or tell people that I'm a metalhead. I'm
No.
kind of like, I'm kind of in the closet. Yeah, it's coming out right
Come
here.
on out, man. There we go. The water's fine.
That's right. Yeah,
The metal's fine.
that's right. That's right.
Well,
So-
it's just everybody, not everybody, but most people that know me as a drummer know me from Conniption.
right.
Right.
But I'm in a 50s and 60s cover band.
Yeah.
You know, rockabilly, doo-wop and stuff. I
Right.
grew up with
Oh, that's
that, with
killer.
all that. And it's like surf music.
Yeah. Right.
If you listen to any the drums on it, it's basically metal drumming,
Right.
you know,
Right.
but in
Right.
the 50s.
Yep. Right.
So yeah, I mean,
It's crazy how like even like the chord structure of those songs, you could turn to metal.
Oh, yeah.
All you got to do is play them a little faster.
Buddy Holly is punk rock as hell.
Oh yes,
you know
he
what
is.
I mean?
Absolutely,
right.
he is.
Right. Yep. Yep.
You know.
Beatallica.
Oh, Beatallica's wonderful. Shout out to Jeff Hamilton.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. So, anyways,
My bandmate,
Yeah. Is
I'm the drummer for Beatallica.
I knew I saw you. We played.
That's right.
I knew
Yeah,
I
I've been on them
recognized
for like 6
you.
years.
Yeah, we played Jeff's 50th birthday party.
Okay.
American Progress.
Right on, yeah.
Yeah, with Andy Weber.
Yep.
Okay, right on.
Isn't that crazy?
I knew you looked familiar when you walked in the studio. I'm like, this guy. I need to know this guy.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right on,
man.
dude.
The shit that comes out. See,
Right?
just us talking here, we're going to find
Yeah.
all these connections.
Yep.
Right.
I love it. Beautiful, man. I love
Hell
it.
yeah.
Yep. And that's what
Right
it's
on.
about, man. It's about this whole music scene thing. It's like, I think it's community is what it is. And that's what really excites me. Even being able to go down to Rushmore, you know, that clip with Jack and hearing him talk about the origins. And he's like, you know, he was saying, hey, man, the money's in metal.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know.
I'd never heard that before.
I know. I never heard that either. You know, yeah.
For as many years as I've been playing, I'd never heard metal was the way to go. Metal
Right.
was always going to be your
Well,
downfall.
He did say that was like 84.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
And metal was on its rise, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. It didn't make a big splash before then. It's kind of like, I guess.
We didn't get the turd of Napster and all that, bringing everybody down at the time. And
Right. Yep. And he banked on it. He put his
Right.
money on that. And
Yeah.
that was a big, huge risk. And, you know, talking about even the idea, like, you know, hey, would it be cool to just get a bunch of our favorite bands together to play a show? And those happen to be a bunch of metal bands.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And I'm just, okay, so I remember promoting very small shows. Kind of local. Steve, you remember some of the
Oh, yeah.
shows?
Yep.
Yeah. And they were like punk shows, metal shows, you know, and we would go rent a warehouse.
Yep.
And, you know, just get a bunch of bands and say, hey, man, we're going to throw you $50 or $100 and we're all just going to have a good time.
Yep.
And then we'd flyer it back when flyers were relevant.
yeah, right.
Right.
We did a show. We rented out a ballroom in a hotel around here. We put up flyers around school for a
Right.
solid month.
Right.
And we packed that
Yeah,
ballroom.
yeah.
They were scared in that
Yeah,
hotel. Let
yeah.
me tell you.
They're like, what do we
All of a
do?
sudden, you
Oh,
see
no.
all these kids walk in with guitars and stuff, and we're going into their main ballroom. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, that could have been a train wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did they ever ask you to come back?
Well, no, you know what's funny? They didn't. Because we set up the show and we booked it with a guy,
Yeah.
show up to the thing, and the general manager comes up to me. He's like, we need to have some documents signed. I was like, well, this other guy booked us. Yeah, he doesn't work here anymore.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Wonderful. So the show almost didn't happen with people showing up
Oh,
as,
boy.
we're
boy.
talking.
Yeah.
So thankfully, my dad, shout out to my dad, he put his name on it and everything went well. Nobody got hurt, and we made a bunch of money.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
got to
that's
pay the
awesome.
bands. I think each band, we had 6 bands, charged $5 a head, and I think each band got about $150 out of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was a fun time.
That is
It was a
awesome.
fun time.
Yeah. So, and that's cool. So apparently now let's talk about Metal Fest.
The money really is in metal.
Apparently.
Exactly,
At least a
right.
little bit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Of course, there's other shows that, you know, we've had where it wasn't as well received because, you know, people got hurt. I remember, okay, I got a story quick. Band Human Nature playing out at Hammer and Hanks in Hartford. I'm running sound, and it's crazy because everyone's wasted, right? And it
Right.
just seems like every one of their shows, everyone just like to really get super, super wasted,
Well,
including the
Hammer
band.
and Hanks.
Yeah, Hammer and Hanks, right? Yeah. So, I
Great
mean,
food.
speakers fell.
Oh, no.
Things were broken. It was insanity. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I think what happened was someone misunderstood the bar owner. One of the bar manager thought that the bar owner said for the band they get open bar.
Not free beer,
Right.
open bar. Right.
Yeah, and that was not supposed to happen.
No.
So the band's like, we get open bar. Man, they lit it up.
Those are the two worst words
Yeah.
in any rock concert setting.
Man, they took advantage of open bar.
Because who wouldn't?
Wow.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. And so the singer, Mike Stutt, ends up passing out on the stage, or he goes into a back room, and the band just keeps playing without him, and they're breaking strings. This is not the band that breaks strings or breaks
Yeah.
drum heads, but yeah, they're wasted, right? So anyways, the band ends up leaving, and everybody clears out, and the bathroom is flooded. It's like
Of
water's
course.
coming out of the bathroom. Like someone literally destroyed one of the toilets. They
Yeah.
broke it. And so as I'm walking out, the guy, the plumber, is coming in, and he's being paid hazard pay. It's like 3 in the morning.
yeah.
You know, and
There's
so I'm-
$300 an hour.
Right,
Right there.
and so I'm still breaking stuff down, getting ready to pack up the van, and I overhear the owner's there now, and the plumber says, "Man, you must just be pissed off about this whole thing." And he says, "I made so much money, this doesn't even matter."
Like,
And-
just fix it.
Exactly,
Yeah. Like,
exactly,
wow.
yeah. So
That's a good attitude.
It's weird that you had this situation that it wouldn't be well received in most
Right.
environments, most situations.
But in the metal environment,
But it worked.
it's
Yeah,
almost
and
expected.
it made them a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
It's all
right.
about
because
so-
that's the show that they were expecting. So they were
Right,
happy
exactly.
to pay for the drinks and whatever it was to get that kind
exactly.
of show.
So
Yep.
and so talking about that, okay, Metal Fest, apparently huge success, right?
Right,
And-
right.
and- but you look at the rave, and what's the goal? I mean, I don't think they make their money on ticket sales. It's alcohol.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, back then, probably you're right. Not so
Yeah.
much ticket sales, definitely alcohol. Nowadays,
It's different?
I think
It's
everything is
changed?
different. I don't know if the rave is participating in that, but I've heard of venues like dipping into merchandise sales.
Oh, sure.
And other types of sales.
Oh, sure.
That
Yeah,
the
yeah.
band would normally
anywhere they can get it, I suppose,
Right.
because
because the industry, the recorded music industry is destroyed.
Right.
As far as nobody's making $1 million off of a record anymore. No
Right.
one's selling that top single and buying a Lamborghini with the cash in their pocket.
yeah.
You got to do it other ways, such as touring,
Right.
and doing the legwork, selling merchandise.
right.
You got to have some other type of marketing that's maybe beyond your music, like a video type thing, or
Yeah.
or other.
That's the other
walks.
part that's really hard for people to understand. I think music is commoditized. It's like eggs and milk, right?
Right.
So I think the average person doesn't understand the real struggle, the monetary struggle.
Right.
Look at how much money you have blown.
Right.
Look back, man. At
On
things-
gear, on
gear, on
recording and
everything,
mixing
man.
and-
traveling. I don't even like to think about it.
Right.
Because I'm like, what have I done with my life?
Yeah.
Am I making the right decisions?
Yeah, did I?
Right.
Yeah. What have I done, man? But I think for people, it's hard for them to understand. I mean, they take music for granted, and it's kind of free now, right? Music
Right.
is kind of free, and so it's hard to tie a value to it and expect people to want to pay for it. But yet they'll go off and blow $80, $150 on dinner
Right,
that very night.
right.
But yet to even fork out $5 for a
For a
show
record.
or $10
Yeah.
or for
$10
exactly
for a
record.
CD, even,
Yeah.
or
Right.
I heard
or a digital download.
I heard
Right,
an interview
right,
with Irving Azoff, the most successful manager in music. He said, you wouldn't go and steal a loaf of bread, but you wouldn't mind just taking music without paying for it.
Right.
Or I saw another interview where Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails said, you spend a year working on this music and putting this album out, and at the end of the day, a cup of coffee costs more than your song.
Yes.
You know,
exactly. Right.
How
Yep.
is that right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Or when Apple, which is a device manufacturer, is the most popular music retailer, there's a problem.
Right. Yeah, and I want to crack that nut, talking about local music, talking about music. Period. Markets that interest me in finding those demand areas. That's what I really want to do with this show and anything that we're doing, building our community, our music scene, is I guess finding the ways where we can survive and afford to be able to do what we
Right.
do, because there is value. If we were gone,
Right.
I think the world would be missing a lot.
Well, and I think that, going back to the metal topic, I think metal will always survive this because there's another aspect other than the recording. It's the shows. You go to see a metal show,
yes.
and you're going to get that live.
Oh yeah,
and,
there's something
getting
to it.
going.
There's an attitude.
So
It's
there's
like-
another
right.
avenue to promote.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
and with the live show, at least, from Conniption, from our perspective with it, Beatallica as well.
Yep.
When we're on stage, we're there to perform the songs. If you want to hear the song with all the backing tracks and you want to hear, all the layers that we did in the studio and all of that, listen to the album.
Go buy the record.
Exactly.
But then live, it's
a different
gonna be
product.
different because
It's a
it's
different
four guys
interpretation.
doing it, and we don't use backing tracks.
Right.
If people want to use them, that's up to
That's
them.
fine.
That's totally
Yeah,
fine.
it's your
we
thing.
don't, and it's it'd be nice to at some point if we were to get into like a click track on stage would be good.
Sure.
Just because it could tighten things
Tightens
up
it
so
up.
much more.
Right.
But without that, you get a little bit more of that natural.
Oh,
push,
it's natural.
pull.
Right,
Exactly.
right.
Man, it's way too fast right now, but let's go.
Yeah,
and
we're energized. We're going. It's
It's
your
all good,
interpretation of the record. When you're on stage, you're putting a live interpretation. You're not trying to reproduce.
Right.
You're taking what you got. If in your case, 4 pieces, maybe you had 80 tracks going on the record. Now you got to figure out how to take those 80 tracks and put them down to 4. One guitar, whatever it is. And that's what I love to see is how bands take the record, which is so well produced, and reproduce it live and hear the little things
That's
they change.
why I surround myself with so many talented musicians.
That's right.
man.
That's right. Yeah.
They
see?
do
Smart
that.
man. Right on.
That's awesome, man. I love it. Yeah.
And you
yeah.
have. I've seen your repertoire. You have quite a few talented people around you. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, that is
Very
awesome.
lucky.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I think what I want to see more now that we're talking about it is more collaboration. I think there might be a niche here. We just have to throw things at the wall and see what sticks. But I mean, one of them, imagine, if you now collaborate, you said you collaborated with Andrew Weber, like right there saying that, like, we identified this common thread, right? And Andrew, is a prominent force here at the Music Academy, and of course in the local music scene here in West Bend,
And a creative genius.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's. I would like to see more of that.
I also saved his ass.
Ooh, tell. Ooh, do tell.
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
So he was playing at, I don't know, like the U.S. Cellular stage or one of the main stages at Summerfest.
Yep.
So they pulled from the Rebel stage when they were doing that at Summerfest.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yeah.
And Whiskey of the Damned had their set.
Okay.
I already had all my stuff boxed up because we played at the Rebel stage earlier,
Sure,
and
sure.
we're waiting for the van to take us back to the lot E or whatever.
Right.
And Andrew comes around. He's like, he didn't have his pedals.
Oh.
So I'm like, here, just get it back to me. Whenever.
Yes. Wow.
Oh, Andrew.
pedals.
Isn't that crazy? It's kind of like showing up and then you don't have sticks, and then
Yeah.
no one there has
But
sticks.
that's the hard thing though. When you're not bringing all your gear, just bring this and that. It'll be easier. It's harder because now,
What
like
do you
what
take
you
with
normally put here, that isn't there, but you still got to bring it.
Right. gotta fill the space somehow.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's funny. I never thought of that.
I'm
You're
always
right.
better to have it and not need it
I
than
know.
need it and not
Me
have
too.
it.
I
Yep.
do. I overpack for everything, and most of the time we're just like, "Why did I bring this?" But you never know. It's I'm okay. I was at a show. I showed up watching. I was Human Nature, and so I show up and I'm just enjoying the show. And I remember during the break, guitarist Corey Jacobson walks up and he's like, "Yeah." I say, "Hey man, great set. It was awesome." He goes, "Yeah." I says, "So." He's like, "Yeah, I'm kind of worried about the next set." And I'm like, "Well, why?" He goes, "I have to do an acoustic. We're doing an acoustic set, and I don't have like a direct box or an impedance matcher, and sound guy doesn't have an extra one because it's just they have enough for what they need, but he needs one more."
Right.
And I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I think I have one of those, an impedance matcher rolling around in my car. It's like it's been rolling from the front seat to the back seat for like the last 2 years.
Right.
And every time it gets too close to my pedals, I kind of kick it back.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. It's the barrel style, the round ones,
Yep.
and so it's got a guitar jack on one side and the XLR on the other.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so it's been rolling there for like 2 years, and I'm thinking, he's like, Are you messing with me right now?
Like, oh, no, I got one. Yeah, that's
he's
fine.
I got you.
I said, "No, man, I'm serious. It's in the floor of my car. Want me to go get it?" He goes, "Yeah." Went and got it. I didn't even ask for it back. I'm like, "Dude, it's
Right.
yours.
He
It's
still
been on
has
the floor.
it.
It's been on the ground for 2 years."
He probably has it framed like, "This saved me. Jay saved me."
Yeah. Oh, that's great, though. I love that. So, anyways, so that's great. Well, guys, I appreciate you being on the show today. This is great. great talk that we had. Just talking about metal, talking about music, talking about, our local music scene. And I hope to have you guys back to chat again. Maybe we'll have Beatallica or Brett and the Dandies back to chat a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And maybe we got to have some of these bands on the Sonic Seedpod.
I'm thinking that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I was thinking about asking Beatallica, but
Yeah.
I don't think we're at that level yet. They're an echelon that I aspire to.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they might hear that and say, "Hey, man, we should go on that show."
Hey, if we can
I'll put in a
manifest
word.
it,
Yeah. Can you put in a good word for us?
I'm so glad we reconnected. Now.
Right
This
on.
is awesome.
Right on. Okay, great, guys. Well, thank you. And I thank you for tuning in. And I want to also let you know that we have a show talking about the Sonic Seed Pod coming up in May. And actually, I'm going to have Steve kind of give us a segue into that. When is
for the next episode?
The next episode of Sonic Seed Pod?
It's going to drop in sometime in May, later May. The artist is KLA, a hip hop artist, a good friend of mine, and he crushed it. It's going to be a great episode. I highly recommend you watch it. And then from then on, we're going to be at the 6th Avenue Bar and Grill for the Summer Seedpod series, and that's going to be something else too.
That's great. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, thank you all. It's been great, and we will see you next time.
Cut.
If you enjoyed that clip with Jack Koshick, the founder of Milwaukee Metal Fest, click on the links below to see the full interview.